Kicking off the list at number 10, Black Widow and Bruce Banner. Okay, remember in Age of Ultron when Black Widow was the key to calming Banner down? They were in love, right? I mean, they were flirting at the beginning of the movie, and then even Steve Rogers was like, hey, you're not breaking any bylaws, haha, no sweat, brother. Like, it's a thing, it's happening. And then they're at Clint's secret little family farmhouse talking about running away together. And then after all of this, when Bruce returns to Earth, he says hi to Nat, and then she's like, hi Bruce, that's kind of it. Weird. Well, according to Infinity War co-screenwriter Stephen McFeely, he said they certainly tried to make this happen. We have scenes, we wrote them, we shot them, of the two of them hashing it out. You've been gone, I've moved on, that kind of stuff. It became very clear that it was a scene that was not really essential to the plot. It couldn't survive Infinity War. That thing has to be on rails just to get to the finish line. Couldn't wrap up loose threads just because you wanted to. I mean, that's fair, that's a good call. But I feel like Endgame, we could have spiced it up a little bit, no? I mean, Black Widow dies and Bruce like throws a bench, maybe like 90 yards. It's not even that big of a throw. I'd throw a fit. I'd throw a fit if Scarlett Johansson was my girlfriend and she died. I'd throw a big fit. And before we go on to number 9, guys, if you could go ahead and give us a like down below. The thumbs up right there, because it really helps us out here at our studio. You guys rock. Number 9, She-Hulk and Star Fox. Of course, I have to throw this one in the mix. So Eros, aka Star Fox, has this really messed up ability where he can make anybody he comes in contact with fall in love. Like Cupid, but with more yuck. Yeah, he even has the face of somebody who does weird shit like that. He looks like every Brad I've ever met. So the two of them hook up, and Jen even talked about how it was a great time. Okay. Cut to She-Hulk issue 6. Jen is defending Star Fox in a sexual assault case. And the question is, will this affect his Avengers status? Like, yes, most definitely. That's usually how this works. So Jen got to thinking, although she made the first move, did he make it happen? Well, it all ended up being consensual, and Arrow's love touch powers were deactivated. Probably for the better, because, well, I'll get into that a little bit later on. Number 8, Hulk and Company. Okay, for this one, we go to Ultimate Wolverine vs. Hulk. So Wolverine at this point is a little occupied, okay? He's on the way to take out the Jolly Green Giant. So he heads to a Tibian town, he's tracking him, he's using his sense, and then finally, he gets his sights on him, and let's just say it's a sight you wouldn't forget. Yeah, he walks in on Hulk with not 1, not 2, but like 40 women. Hi Bruce, he says, before popping out his claws. It's crazy Wolverine tracked him down by sniffing. I feel like he got to that door and was like, yeah, I'm gonna come back later. Something's wrong there. Something's not nice in there. Number 7, She-Hulk and Juggernaut. Shifting over now to Uncanny X-Men 435, The Trial of Juggernaut. It's standard professional practice to not hook up with your clients. I mean, I think, especially if that client is a big bad. So Jennifer Walters at this point was representing Juggernaut. And then, in a moment of heroic actions, Juggernaut kind of proves he's not all bad. He doesn't like save a cat out of a tree or anything remarkable, he just decides not to kill a guard. So Jen Walters is like, huh, interesting. Is this a scam? I wonder. Why didn't you escape? He's like, I don't know, man. My dad was a rocket scientist. I've always been a failure. Women's rights are the best. I'm a huge Jets fan. That's literally how it goes. And then Jen's like, oh, and it gets her attention because in the next page, the room is a goddamn mess. The bed has broken into the ground. The lamp is busted. And guys, worst of all, the windows are wide open. They didn't even try and close the curtains a foot. There's like nothing. It's just all glass. Freaks. You're freaks. Number 6. Hulk and She-Hulk. I'll be honest, I was gonna save this one for number 1 on the list, but I didn't want this video to end and then have you guys sitting there like, gross. So in the Old Man Logan storyline, it gets a little ew. We have this gang, the Hulk gang. Yeah, sounds pretty sick, right? They go around bashing people in who don't pay rent. Hell, if that was a Disney Plus show that was announced, I'd be so pumped. Oh wait, Hulk gang is the result of She-Hulk and the Hulk having kids together? I feel like I've said enough already, so now allow me to show you enough. Yep, yuck that. No way. Number 5, Hercules and She-Hulk. She's had a crush on Hercules for a while. I mean, I feel like most of us did growing up, no? He looks similar to Star Fox, so clearly she's got a type. In She-Hulk issue 30, it opens with this shot. She's expressing how if she's gonna fall off the wagon, it could be worse than having it be with Hercules. I mean, fair. But how does something like this actually come to fruition? Well, she mentioned falling off the wagon, but the only wagon that's falling is Hercules' wagon right into the palm of her hand. That's right, a move she picked up from the X-Men. She straight up grabs Hercules by his bum bum and then just hucks him at their giant-sized enemy, which is a great power move, something we almost saw last year in Endgame, actually. Yeah, Ant-Man was gonna throw the Hulk, who's gonna throw Spider-Man, and then he would have probably died. That's a lot of power. So this plus taking down an enemy together, things are heating up. There's a lot of chemistry, a lot of chemistry. After all, once you use somebody's assets like that, the rest kind of makes sense. I mean, maybe not in an RV in a parking lot, but hey, I'm not judging. I'm not judging. Number 4, She-Hulk and Tony Stark. I mean, it was only a matter of time before these two crossed paths and did the dirty. So they're both known for their crazy hookups. And then in She-Hulk issue 17, we see it go down. But it's different, okay? So Tony at this time is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Jen Walters at this point was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it all starts with a debriefing. Of course, a debriefing. Now, was the debriefing professional in any manner? Do we have PowerPoints and laser pointers? No, we didn't. No, Tony gets a candlelit dinner aboard the helicarrier. Even Clay Quarterman's like, hey, maybe I should debrief her. I don't know, just a thought. Get out of here, perv. The issue is interesting because like I said, they're both known to be the supes who get around town, but Tony gets treated like this cool playboy dude. They're like, yeah, keep doing it, man. Keep getting those girls. And then She-Hulk gets all the shame. The double standards here are nuts. So while they're about to open this conversation up, Tony starts to say, well, Jen, try looking at it from this angle. Bam, evil attacks in the form of robots. And they're not even out of bed yet. Great timing. She-Hulk's like, yeah, don't take this the wrong way, but you should definitely get dressed right now. It would have been a good conversation too. She-Hulk would have told them exactly what's up and the readers would have been like, okay, heard. Fair. Number 3, Kyra and the Hulk. Planet Hulk is a great run. We have this savage alien planet, barbarian tribes. It's kind of like Gladiator vibes, it's great. And when it comes to love, it's still in the air, just this time around it's a bit more of a duty rather than a passion. So we find Kyra Oldstrong and the two hit it off. Like, really quickly. Hulk comes out and asks her to be his queen. Just like that. Let's do it. Sure, Game of Thrones style. Alright. Our guy doesn't waste any time. We'd love to see it. Then their wedding, I mean, shadow ceremony happens, and out comes 2 kids. After her death. Yeah, she gave birth to Scar and his evil other half, like in secret, Hero Kala. I wish we saw this unfold on Sakaar in the MCU. I feel like Ragnarok should have been a touch darker. Alright, it was too fun. It was too fun. Sue me. I don't know. Number 2, She-Hulk and Manwolf. The son of J. Jonah Jameson, John Jameson, a lot of J's in there, got married to She-Hulk. Yeah, it was during the Civil War where the two had been dating and then decided to take it up a notch in the terms of holy matrimony. She loved him so much she would purposely try and stay in her human form because Manwolf preferred that. Gotta love controlling relationships. Sounds lovely, but this is a weird romance list, so there's more to it than just that. See, Manwolf and She-Hulk had a rocky relationship, so when they got married, it was kind of weird. You're like, do they love each other? Is this kind of... He's really controlling and he's weird. Well, it turns out their love wasn't so natural after all. Star Fox, that weirdo that I mentioned earlier in this list, he was using his powers, his love powers, to make them love each other. So it was never really authentic. It's all a sham. So when she finds out, not only is she hurt and heartbroken, but she quickly slides over those divorce papers and Manwolf and her go separate ways. But it wasn't easy for Manwolf. I mean, Jen Walters is a catch. I'd be pretty upset too. I'd be like crying and signing, tears would be dripping onto the paper. Oops, gotta get another one. And finally, number 1, Hawkeye and She-Hulk. Okay, with all these new Disney shows being announced, there's like 50 of them, I swear. One of them that I'm most excited for is the animated What If series. There's a lot of fun and a lot of weird in these comics. Like Volume 2, Issue 114, for example, we see Jen Walters and Hawkeye have a kid. Yeah, they name him CJ, little Clint Jr. He shares both skills of his parents, that of being green and lean, while also knowing how to shoot an arrow. It's a great combo. You're gonna get a lot of shit done. You're gonna kill it at birthday parties. This all happens when the Beyonders assemble heroes and villains to scrap it out during the events of Secret Wars on Battleworld. But what if they never left after they settled a truce? Although we don't see the two in their awkward flirting, what's your favorite color? Stages, they seem to hit it off really quite well. I love the what if stuff. I mean, Captain America and Rogue, I mean, that alone is just, there's a lot of crazy in there.
Number 10, Star Fox. These two were so weird in the comics, and definitely the writing of how this all kind of came about is something I feel like most of us would just like to forget, which is why they are ranked so low. The two had a fling one night when they were both Avengers. Jen even described the sex as being amazing, but later she reminisces about her night with Star Fox while defending him in a sexual assault case. She begins to worry through hearing a woman's testimony that he has used his powers and influence on her to make her fall for him. It turned out that he hadn't done that, but something just as bad. He had manipulated her into falling for someone else. He was of course just doing it because he wanted to see Jen happy, but manipulating someone into having feelings for another person, which later results in them getting married, is never really a good look. Especially on someone who is supposed to be a hero like Eros. What were you thinking, Star Fox? What were you thinking? Number 9. Man-Wolf. She-Hulk and Man-Wolf had a brief and rocky romance which later became a full-blown love story to them, who were both under the influence of Eros. Star Fox made the two of them fall in love and they both became obsessed with one another. She-Hulk even went so far as to try and stay in her human form when she was around John, who preferred her that way. The two eloped, but when Jen found out the truth behind why they really loved one another, she immediately wanted a divorce, finally understanding why her and John also had so many unresolvable disagreements, yet somehow decided to stay together. John wanted to give it another go, saying that he still loved Jen, but she refused to give in, claiming that really they had never loved one another, leaving Man-Wolf, aka John Jonah Jameson III, with no options but to sign the divorce papers. I get it though, She-Hulk's pretty awesome, I'd want to hold on to that too. Number 8. Richard Rory. While Richard may not be a hero in the super sense, he has worked heroically to try and protect the monstrous hero Man-Thing after an encounter with him left Rory forever changed. Richard was originally a DJ for a radio station in Florida who always seemed to find himself down on his luck. Again, not a great pick when it comes to partners for Jen, but definitely one that briefly happened. These two ran into each other in the streets of Las Vegas, and Rory offered Jennifer Walters a ride after he suspected that she had had a run-in with the terrifying She-Hulk. She originally turned him down until she saw his sweet ride, which was limo. Rory had just won a ton of money at the casino and was currently quite well off. Jen decided to go with Richard. Richard is a pessimist who feels he always has bad luck, and as such this makes him pretty mopey, and we usually see anything that happens to him in a negative mindset as a result. Although Richard may have not been great for Jen, Jen was pretty good for him, offering that Richard's main problem was actually that he just had an unhealthy self-image. The two parted ways after an adventure involving the Man-Thing, though they would run into each other a couple more times in the comics. They parted with a kiss. Number 7. Clay Quartermain. Clay was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and led the Hulkbusters at one point. He recruited She-Hulk for S.H.I.E.L.D. when she was called in after being a registered superhuman under the Superhuman Registration Act. Shortly after joining up, Clay called She-Hulk Mrs. Jameson, using her former married name. She corrected him, saying that she had actually reverted back to Walters after her divorce. Hearing she was divorced, Clay became intrigued, and it's implied that he put a move on her. She-Hulk did end up sleeping with him, though she seems to express some remorse after, thinking to herself that Jennifer Walters would not have done that, but as She-Hulk, she does what she wants, when she wants, and with whom she wants. However, it also seemed that her decision to sleep with Quartermain left her questioning her own sense of self, and caused her to look in the mirror and face an emptiness that seemed to be eating away inside her. Hawkeye. In the What If series Volume 2, Issue 114, we get to examine a world where heroes and villains stayed on Battleworld during the events of the original Secret Wars, laid down their arms, and ended up basically retiring and settling down. One of the oddest couples to come out of this What If story was She-Hulk and Hawkeye, who had a son named CJ, who was green with his mom's strength, but the skill of his dad when it came to being a crack shot. How these two came together exactly we'll never know, but hey, at least they weren't quite as strange as the pairing of Captain America and Rogue, so there's that. Number 5. Iron Man. Oddly enough, someone else who also has a romantic history with She-Hulk tried to stop this from happening, Clay Quartermain. Tony appears and offers to debrief She-Hulk, revealing a candlelit dinner setting in a room on the helicarrier, despite the fact that Quartermain insists that he should be the one doing any debriefing. Tony Stark and She-Hulk end up in bed together after the debriefing, if there was one at all, and actually begin to have a fairly interesting conversation. She-Hulk inquires as to how Tony manages to sleep around, expanding that when she does it she's labeled as a skank, but when he does it he is glorified as a player. Tony is about to answer and provide Jennifer with his insight when the helicarrier is attacked, detracting what could have been undoubtedly a very interesting conversation between the two supers. Number 4. Hercules. She-Hulk has had a thing for Hercules for a while in the comics. She's fantasized about him on more than one occasion and fought alongside him. In one instance, he made an appearance in Volume 2, Issue 30 of She-Hulk, where the two got up to more than just a fantasy, and more than just fighting. She-Hulk teamed up to help Hercules take down a Celtic god, which ended up with the two of them alone together in an ambulance. They got to talking apparently, and one thing led to another. Before Jen knew it, she was resting in the arms of a god after finally getting to sleep with him. She knew it wasn't going to end up anywhere, but she was pretty fine with that. One thing I've always loved about She-Hulk is how much she just owns her own sexuality. So cool to see that in comics in general. Number 3. Thor. More recently in the comics, She-Hulk and Thor have been a thing, which has excited many fans. Both heroes are known for their strength, making this superhero duo quite the power couple. Originally, Jen was worried about having a crush on Thor. She feared that he only liked her for her She-Hulk form, but in Avengers Volume 8, she and Thor have a heart-to-heart. Just as Jen is ready to walk out on Thor, he confesses his feelings, admitting he is enamored by the She-Hulk, but who he really wants to know is the She inside, who he feels he has distance from. He wants to know Jen's desires and thoughts and fall in love with them. The two seal the deal with a kiss. Aw. I also love how that all starts with Thor being like, I'm terrible with words. And then he's like, JK, I just nailed it. Number 2. Wyatt Wingfoot. She-Hulk met Wyatt during her time on the Fantastic Four roster when she was standing in for Ben Grimm. The team had a run-in with Wyatt and his tribe. But Wyatt Wingfoot is not superpowered. He has acted as an ally to both the Fantastic Four and She-Hulk herself on her own adventures. He often also acts as a hero when it comes to protecting his tribe, the Kiwazi. Sorry if I say that wrong. Jennifer and Wyatt quickly begin a romance that would span over decades in the comics. She met his parents, he attended law school, and even at one point proposed to her. Unfortunately, later his own duties as chief of the Kiwazi tribe and ensuring the tribe's safety would oftentimes keep him away from her. Still, the two's on and off again relationship has been revisited as late as the 2000s and as early as the 1980s. That's a long relationship. Number 1. Luke Cage. So, I know Luke Cage is destined to be with Jessica Jones, and I love the two of them together, but She-Hulk and Luke Cage had some of the cutest chemistry that I've ever seen in comics. They both worked together in Heroes for Hire, and it was during She-Hulk's time there that Luke Cage won a date with her by betting that he could get to the control room of a building before she could. He won running through the walls to get there, and She-Hulk agreed to go on a date with Luke. He and Jen just have some great dialogue during their time together in the 90s. She-Hulk is quite sassy, and they both seem to challenge each other in the best of ways, causing one another to reflect on their world views. They push each other to be better too, and are both tough enough to survive getting romantic with the other. Short-lived romance. Bring it back. Number 10. Juggernaut. She-Hulk slept with Juggernaut after getting to know him as his defense lawyer. The two seemed to bond over sports and Juggernaut's opinion on women's rights. Cain Marco's thoughts on the subject seem to be that women are sometimes just a heck of a lot better than men. A fair conclusion to come to after spending the night with She-Hulk, I'd think. She-Hulk would later deny that this ever happened though, whenever another character in the comics brought it up. It was later revealed that apparently it was not the main continuity She-Hulk of Earth 616 at all who had slept with Juggernaut, but the Jennifer Walters of Earth 721, aka Earth A, who had temporarily given herself the Earth 616's powers before escaping to this reality. However, in She-Hulk Volume 2, Issue 25, it would appear that She-Hulk breaks the fourth wall with Cain Marco to renounce her guilt for their one-night stand and admits her true feelings for him, upset that the writers have been forcing her to appear ashamed of their time together. So I don't know if that was also Earth A She-Hulk or what's happening there. Number 9. Zapper. Dr. Daniel Ridge Jr. was one of She-Hulk's first boyfriends. Despite the fact that they never saw it all the way through, he remained kind of weirdly obsessed with Jennifer, even after they broke up. The woman he married, Christine, even ended up altering her appearance to look more like Jennifer, just to get his attention. Zapper ended up being called in to help Jennifer after exposure to Warzone's toxins affected her and made her kinda weak. When she momentarily died, Zap was there to resurrect her and ended up kissing her in front of his wife. Ooh. Christine actually blamed Jennifer, thinking that She-Hulk was trying to seduce Zapper. The whole thing was kinda like a soap opera. She-Hulk actually thought that Zapper was behind Warzone and had engineered the enemy solely for the purpose of She-Hulk needing to be healed by Daniel, allowing him to win her back. When it turned out this wasn't true and Christine's dad was actually behind the attack, She-Hulk became even more enraged until her own father showed up and kinda calmed her down. In the end, Zapper and his wife ended up seeking marriage counseling to help resolve their issues surrounding Jennifer. You know you're crazy obsessed with someone when you marry someone who looks pretty much just like them. Number 8. Pug. He's so cute. Augustus Pugliese is a fellow co-worker of Jennifer Walters. He works as a lawyer for Goodman, Lieber, Kurtzberg & Holloway, the same firm that Walters also works for. Pug is one of She-Hulk's good friends and ended up being there for her after she began questioning her feelings surrounding being herself versus She-Hulk and her potential addiction to her superpowered state. Pug stayed over and helped her make a list surrounding the pros and cons between herself and her superpowered state, She-Hulk. Pug used to have very strong romantic feelings for Jen and wanted to confess them them to her when they were working to help Spider-Man in his case against J. Jonah Jameson. After she ended up with Man-Wolf though, Pug thought there was really no point in loving Jen and pining after her, and ended up taking a potion to cure him of what he felt were unrequited feelings. As such, the two were now simply really great friends. Shame that this couple did not get more of a chance, though the Earth A version of Pug, of Earth 721, did get more of a chance as he ended up marrying that version of Jennifer Walters. Yay, in an alternate reality, anything is possible. Number 7. Star Fox. Okay, so while Eros, especially in the older comics, can come off as kind of a super creepy dude due to his pleasure-granting and emotional manipulation powers, he and She-Hulk as a pairing both seem to genuinely have a good time. She-Hulk and Janet Van Dyne revisit the one night the pair had together in She-Hulk Volume 2 Issue 7. As much as I find the idea of these two hooking up kind of cringeworthy, Jennifer seemed to remember the night fondly as one where she had a lot of fun with Eros, and the amount of enjoyment that Star Fox's prowess, abilities, and skills appeared to have given She-Hulk is why he's ranked at number 7. I mean, we can't really rank him much higher, as despite Jen having a good time when it came to their physical exploits, he still kind of manipulated her and John Jameson into having feelings for one another to the extent that they later got married, despite issues that would have normally destroyed most relationships. Like, you know, Jameson not wanting Jennifer to be in her She-Hulk state. Not cool, Man-Wolf, and very not cool, Star Fox. Number 6. Micah. She-Hulk met Micah at a fashion show of Janet Van Dyne's. Micah is a Swedish underwear model and made the top 10 of People magazine's sexiest men alive. He ended up escorting She-Hulk back to the Avengers mansion, and the two had a fling. We see them in bed together again a few days later, but Micah ends up breaking up with She-Hulk because he says he is looking for someone with more depth. It seems She-Hulk's fear of being perceived as boring as Jennifer Walters actually prevented her from really creating a relationship with Micah. She's a little too free-loving for the model, I guess. This revelation leaves She-Hulk confused, as you know, I mean, Micah's an underwear model, so what is depth for him? I don't know. Underwear models can be deep too though, I guess. Number 5. Tony Stark. Tony Stark ends up seducing She-Hulk on the helicarrier during a debrief in regards to the Hulkbuster team that she is a part of. The debrief appears to occur over a candlelit dinner, and the two end up in bed together. Being a couple of the most well-known players in the Marvelverse, She-Hulk ends up pondering as they lay in bed about the way women versus men are perceived when it comes to playing the field. Tony is about to offer insight on the topic when their conversation is interrupted by the helicarrier being attacked. Not something that is good news for She-Hulk, as apparently she's known as the Helicarrier Destroyer because she was on it before when it was destroyed, so. But maybe for the best, as in She-Hulk Volume 1, Tony seems to express concern over She-Hulk's frequent overnight guests during her stay at the Avengers mansion, fearing that they pose a risk to the security of the mansion. So his thoughts on She-Hulk's free-loving romantic life, they might not be so kind after all. Come on, Tony, don't criticize She-Hulk. You have the same problem. If anyone's creating security risks, it's also probably you. Number 4. Wyatt Wingfoot. One of my most favorite romantic interests of She-Hulk. Wyatt and She-Hulk first met during her time with the Fantastic Four, where she was standing in for the Thing after he opted to stay a little longer on Battleworld to reflect on himself and do some soul searching after being depowered. Wyatt and She-Hulk would instantly hit it off and end up dating on and off again throughout most of her time in the comics, including Wyatt even joining her on adventures. I really love the pair of them together because Wingfoot, or Wheezy as Jen affectionately calls him, has always respected whatever Jen wants to do. He stands by her to support her, but he never seems to try and control her. Instead, he's just there when she needs him. And as Jen has her own things going on and is a strong, independent woman, lawyer, and hero, he also has his own life as well, which sometimes takes him away from her. He ends up as the chief of the fictional Native American Hiwazi tribe of Oklahoma, and as such has his own responsibilities that he also often has to attend to. Number 3. Hercules. Okay, so although Wyatt may be sweeter, Hercules is someone that She-Hulk has fantasized about for issues and issues of comic books. Finally, the two ended up together in more than just a fantasy when She-Hulk was bailed out of prison in order to help Hercules in a fight and prevent him from, causing so much damage, as he's sometimes likened to do. The two worked together to take down the Celtic god Bendigeidfran. I don't know if I'm saying that right, even though I have an Irish heritage, so I should really be saying it right. Who is also referred to as the Blessed Crow, who was using Bran Murphy as an avatar in his fight against Hercules. She-Hulk and Hercules successfully defeated the giant avatar and ended up later hooking up. Finally! After years of fantasizing. Though before this happened, they actually almost hooked up during the sensational She-Hulk run. That time, however, She-Hulk refused Hercules' advances, labeling him a muscle-bound moron, and not understanding whatever it was that she saw in him before. He liked her spirit though, insisting still that they spend the night, and smacked her on the butt, prompting She-Hulk to send him crashing through a wall with a single punch. Well, I mean, I guess she ended up changing her mind about that. Even if he is a muscle-bound moron, he's still a pretty hot guy, I guess. That Hercules. Can't say no to a demigod. Number 2, Luke Cage. So these two have some of the best comic book chemistry I have ever seen. Both are stubborn and yearn to prove a point to the other, but are also kind enough to listen and learn from each other. She-Hulk sees Luke as a criminal until she agrees to go out on a date with him, where she learns about his past and his misdeeds, but also how he was kind of wrongly convicted. As a lawyer, she truly believed in the law until she learned about Luke Cage's plight. In this way, he made Jennifer a better person, and together the two made an impossibly strong team, both intellectually and physically. Speaking of physically, Luke has also attested that he would be resilient enough to actually handle a physical relationship with She-Hulk, allowing her to not have to worry about smashing her partner, well, you know, smashing with her partner. Number 1, Hulk. So, here's the scoop. I did not want to talk about what happened in the Old Man Logan storyline, but I got too many requests for it on my last video to not mention it. So, here we go. You're welcome, I guess, / sorry for those of you that don't want to hear about this. In the Old Man Logan universe, Earth 807128 to be specific, it turns out that Hulk ends up going crazy from the gamma radiation, eventually having his mind kind of warped. This, combined with the fact that She-Hulk, his cousin, Jennifer Walters, is the only one left on Earth that he finds himself biologically compatible with, means that he ends up mating with her. We don't know if She-Hulk was into it or not. All we see is their inbred offspring and their offspring's offspring, and the fact that Bruce has become villainous as his mind has deteriorated. This isn't the first time these first cousins have been weirdly shipped though. Hulk ended up going wild with lust in the Incredible Hulk Annual 2000 and almost accidentally mated with his cousin while in a horny rage. Ugh. So there you go, now you heard about it. Thanks for watching, Nerd Squad. I hope you enjoyed this list. And it's time for some bonus content in the form of an honorable mention. My wishful thinking hypothetical fanship for this list comes in the form of Patsy Walker's Hellcat. While Jennifer Walters has never had a female romantic interest or seemed to express any romantic feelings for anyone of the same sex, sadly, I just love the chemistry between these two ladies. Patsy Walker is also confident, fun, and sexy like She-Hulk, and I think they would make the best pair. And if you want to join me on imagining there could be something there between these two ladies, you should check out the heartbreaking moment when Patsy sneaks in to visit She-Hulk in her own series, Patsy Walker aka Hellcat issue number 8. The love between them is just, oh, it's so real and heartfelt, and She-Hulk's in a coma. Oh, she's holding her hand. I think if She-Hulk were going to have a relationship with any woman, this would be the one that I would pick for her. Who would you like to see She-Hulk end up with? What's your favorite comic book series of She-Hulks? I'm a sensational She-Hulk fan for sure, but I also really love She-Hulk Volume 2 personally.
Coming in at number 10, we have Behemoth, an evil clone of the Hulk. Created through the scheming of the villainous Master of the World, an enlightened caveman of a villain who usually fights against the Canadian superhero team Alpha Flight, this clone was named Behemoth when he was sent along with several other cloned heroes to fight the Heroes for Hire. And while any clone of the Incredible Hulk is obviously going to be a bit intimidating, this clone luckily wasn't long for this world, surviving just a single issue before the Heroes for Hire defeated him by blowing up the entire island they were fighting on. Then again, if you're fighting the Hulk, that's probably the least messy ending you're likely to get. Coming in at number 9, we have Daydream. Now, this entry might be more of an honorable mention, as it's a bit unclear if Daydream was genetically tied to Bruce Banner at all, or just Betty Ross, but either way, she's definitely one of the weirdest daughters someone could have. Created by combining the mental energies of both Betty Ross and the Marvel villain known as Nightmare, Daydream is half human and half dream entity, capable of teleporting at will and reshaping the dreams and mental state of anyone around her, including the Incredible Hulk. Coming in at number 8, we have another technical Hulk daughter with Carmilla Black, aka the New Scorpion. A genetically engineered human created from the genetic material of Monica Rappaccini, the scientist supreme of AIM, and Bruce Banner. Carmilla has a scorpion stinger connected to her arm and a natural immunity to every poison in the world. While best known for serving with S.H.I.E.L.D. after discovering her origins were connected to the evil AIM, Carmilla has served with several different teams over the course of her career, and even if she might not be aware that she has some of Bruce Banner's DNA within her, she definitely is a green fighter the Hulk could be proud of. Coming in at number 7, we have the Incredible Klaw. And just in case you can't tell from the text on screen, yes, that's just the Hulk spelled backwards. Created by the psychic villain Xemnu to be a superior clone to the original Grey Hulk, Klaw was far more intelligent than the usual Grey Hulk persona, at the cost of him being slightly less powerful than his original inspiration. Klaw was nearly able to kill both the Green and the Red Hulk with the help of Xemnu, but was eventually defeated whenever the hero Impossible Man combined both Red and Green Hulks into the Compound Hulk, a more powerful gamma creature that was able to put down Klaw for good. Don't you just love a totally normal and not weird at all comic book ending? Coming in at number 6, we have Hero Kala. An infant son that the Hulk thought he had lost during the destruction of the planet Sakaar, Hero spent many years wandering the galaxy after he survived the explosion due to his mother's cocoon. Embracing the heritage of his mother's people, Hero converted their religion's old power into a new power by merging his psychic abilities with that of Galactus's power cosmic. While not green-skinned or as strong as his father, Hero Kala has continued to try and lead the Sakaaran people and find them a new suitable home amongst the stars. Coming in at number 5, we have the Nerd Hulk, an evil clone from the Ultimate Universe. Created from Bruce Banner's stem cells by the sociopathic brother of Tony Stark, Gregory, Nerd Hulk was intended to be the best of both worlds version of the Hulk, with all the strength and rage of his gamma form combined with the intellect and restraint of Bruce Banner. However, this had the downside of making the Hulk actually afraid of combat despite his strength, and for a long time he was considered a bit of a laughingstock until by chance he was bitten by the Ultimate Universe's version of a vampire. This combination of a vampire's bloodlust and the Hulk's strength finally made the vampire Nerd Hulk a worthy villain for the Ultimates, and was only able to be defeated when he was cleverly teleported across the world into sunlight by Captain America. Coming in at number 4, we have Bo Banner. In the alternate apocalyptic future that the Old Man Logan stories take place in, the Hulk name has fallen into ruin, as the Hulk Gang is a roaming band of cannibal hillbillies that are apparently the spawn of the Hulk and his own cousin, having gone insane after receiving too much additional radiation from this version of America's nuclear war. One of the leaders of this hillbilly gang is Bo Banner, who winds up killing Wolverine's family after they're late paying protection fees. And while Wolverine dispatches Bo in a gruesome use of C4 explosives, cannibal descendants of the Hulk are still a pretty nasty and powerful surprise to find in this dark alternate future. Coming in at number 3, we have Lyra from Earth 8009. Born from the genetic material of the Hulk and her mother Thundra, the leader of an alternate future in which a warrior clan of women have taken over the planet, Lyra was intended to be the perfect union of the strongest man and the strongest woman in existence. And while Lyra's gamma powers have the unfortunate setback of actually making her weaker as she gets angrier, Lyra still has one hell of a punch due to the combined genetics of her parents. Trained in combat with every sort of physical weaponry imaginable, Lyra has since become an ally and friend of Earth 616's She-Hulk and fights by her side as an occasional accomplice. Coming in at number 2, we have Bruce Banner Jr. The youngest child of the Hulk gang from the post-apocalyptic Old Man Logan future we introduced earlier in this list, Bruce Banner Jr. was first introduced as just an ugly Hulk baby, kinda looking a little bit like the Grinch. However, in a storyline set 500 years later, this Hulk baby has grown into a new, more heroic version of the Hulk villain Maestro, himself a completely different evil future version of Bruce Banner. Having overcome his horrific origins to become an intelligent and heroic leader, Bruce Banner Jr. would occasionally cross over into the main Marvel universe and is currently still looking for a new world to call his own. And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have Scar, the son of the Incredible Hulk and the older brother of Hero Kala. The offspring of the Hulk and Sierra the Old Strong, Scar's mother died so that he might live during the destruction of his planet, and eventually made his way back to Earth following in his father's footsteps. Calling himself the Killer of Killers, Scar has all of the strength of his father combined with the stone and magma manipulating power of his mother, and has walked the line between hero and anti-hero often enough that he was even Steve Rogers' double agent whenever Norman Osborn had taken over the Dark Avengers. No matter what situation he finds himself in, Scar will always be one of the strongest Gamma beings in the entire Marvel Universe.